What's going on, people? Welcome here. We're live here on YouTube. I am Joshua Lopez, host, creator, producer of the Pro Wrestling Experience, soon the Game Pro Wrestling Experience. We're on every Wednesdays, 10 to 1 here, ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. Welcome to live YouTube shows, episode 96. Yikes. We're on the road to 100 episodes of the Pro Wrestling Experience. The 100th episode will be on January 21st. That will be on a Wednesday, right before the Royal Rumble. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about Raw from last week and a little preview for tomorrow. Um, for those who haven't noticed, we've been off air this week due to the holidays. So I hope everybody had a safe and nice holiday. I had a great holiday, got a lot of cool stuff I had and wanted. I'm going to talk about experience I had at a WWE house show on Friday. We're also going to talk about Brock Lesnar, my thoughts about him being the WWE champion. Um, do a little more verbiage talks that's around YouTube. And there's a lot of people that like to talk about CM Punk. I'll give my thoughts about him joining UFC, and also some questions I had coming out of those podcasts with Colt Cabana. Also, we'll get my state of address with wrestling. Next week is going to be New Year's, so it's going to be 2015. I couldn't think of a better time than now to actually go ahead and give you guys my thoughts on where wrestling is right now and where I would like to see it go in 2015. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. You guys have any questions? Please feel free to comment below in the chat room or the comment section in YouTube. I'll try to get to all of them as best as I can. We're on Twitter at PW Show. You guys want, the purpose of doing the Pro Wrestling Experience, we started here on YouTube. For those that do remember me, we started doing the show in February of 2013, right before WrestleMania 29. And it's been a lot of fun, and at the same time, it's had its challenges. Um, with wrestling, trying to build your credibility and reputation to the fans. Some people would like to test you and where you think you belong in a certain realm of wrestling coverage. There's a lot of great shows out there, like Wrestle Reaction, Chair Shot Reality, Busted Open. A lot of great shows. I'm big fans of them, and I got friends that do those shows. One problem that I have with wrestling today, especially for wrestling media outlets, is the fact that these shows make you less of a fan. I mean, when you look at dirt sheets, it's another forum. I understand people like to talk wrestling 24/7, but with today's society, with the internet and society being so negative these days, wrestling has turned into a reciprocal negative world, and it's kind of sad. Um, I've been a wrestling fan since 1997. Haven't stopped watching. I always watch, even till the day I start working at wrestling. And we started doing this show because I I'm a fan of wrestling, obviously. So are you, the listener, and I'm happy to be a wrestling fan. Is every company great? No. Is every independent wrestling company great? No. I support it. If there's a wrestling ring around the city here in Chicago, or on my TV screen, or on pay per view, just in case like the New Japan pay per views coming up on January 4th, I'll support it. But with a lot of these shows, they let their feelings or jadingness towards the WWE affect the way they view wrestling as a whole, and that's just sad because there is more wrestling than the WWE. But at the same time, you should support WWE. You should support all wrestling in general. That's the point as to why we're doing this show, because you looked at where we were at the Monday Night Wars. Everybody was talking about wrestling. I was a young kid. I wasn't really that in known about what goes behind the scenes and that stuff. I mean, I was only 4 or 5 years old, so what can you expect? But um, wrestling was a big thing. Everybody was talking about it. WCW's out of business. You see the dissension from TNA this past year, and it's really sad because as of right now, we should be supporting wrestling as much as you can, more than ever. Pro wrestling gets a black eye now because the whole stuff with Chris Benoit, the steroids, the young deaths, the I guess bad programming if you want. But we started doing the show because I want fans to be happy to be a wrestling fan instead of coming out of the show being like, "Oh, why am I still watching this?" I don't want that feeling from you. I'd like to tell you why certain things happen and where they can go from here instead of just harping on what my critiques are about the WWE because we're not going to get anything out of it. It's not unique. People's already done it already, and it's not original. I like to stand out. I'm a positive guy. I'm sorry. I'm not a bitter, negative guy towards certain wrestling companies because they don't do what I want them to do. It's not about me. It's never been about me, and that's a lot of problem with these wrestling shows out there. They make it all about themselves. It's supposed to be about the fans and the wrestling genre as a whole. That's why we watch it, and that's why we support it. Pro wrestling is one of the best forms of entertainment in the entire world, and I feel it's being taken for granted, and it's kind of sad. With that said, let's get into some wrestling coverage. Last week was Monday Night Raw from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Um, I gotta say, with these Christmas shows, you never know what you're gonna get. You get some silliness here and there. You may get some practical jokes. Uh, I think the thing is, when it comes to these shows, you need to understand they're not going to do storyline development. But it was kind of interesting that they kind of did. I mean, I thought the Christmas show was kind of like a best of 2014 or maybe worse than 2014, wherever way you want to look at it. Since we did get the rematches of John Cena and Seth Rollins, which I thought was a great match, back and forth, very very good match. Um, I've seen a lot of people saying that Seth Rollins was getting buried because he lost to John Cena, and I don't know what the answer to that question is. I mean, you see where Seth Rollins is. He became probably the biggest heel in wrestling today, and he joined the Authority. I think Seth Rollins deservedly should have won the Superstar of the Year, especially for all the stuff he did in the ring. But Seth Rollins is a heel. Remember that he's a bad guy. I know there's been times where heels won a lot of matches, but he's got an excuse. He's the Money in the Bank cash winner. He can cash in at any time. So I'm not really upset with the fact that John Cena won that match. Plus, you need to make John Cena look strong heading towards his final match against Brock Lesnar. We'll get into that in a little bit because I, for one, have not been a fan of Brock Lesnar's title reign as WWE champion. I think it's been overdone, and it's starting to get a little bit ridiculous now. Let's move forward to Dolph Ziggler and Luke Harper Intercontinental Championship rematch. So a lot of people complain about that on Monday. People are entitled to their rematches when they lose the title, following the rules. A lot of people say WWE doesn't follow rules. Well, you have to pay attention to the show to actually see they are following rules. I mean, how many times you look on a wrestling show, you see something happen, and then you automatically assume this is going to happen. Let it play out and see if you're right or wrong. In this case, Dolph Ziggler and Luke Harper had a great match. Obviously, I think a lot of people are going to say the ladder match at TLC was better. It was one of the best ladder matches I've seen in years. I thought Luke Harper and Dolph Ziggler have great chemistry with each other, and I wouldn't mind them feuding sometime next year or somewhere down the road in the future. But it's going to be interesting with the Royal Rumble comes to see where Dolph Ziggler and Luke Harper land because, usually when it comes to these Royal Rumble and WrestleMania seasons, a lot of guys like Harper and Ziggler are kind of lost in the shuffle, and it's kind of sad. Who knows? Maybe this year is the year where we finally get a very big, important Intercontinental Championship match. That hasn't been done in years. Golly, man, I think the last time the Intercontinental Championship was defended in the singles match was 28. Listen, WrestleMania 28, Big Show and Cody Rhodes. But I like the match with Dolph Ziggler and Luke Harper. I gotta say, the Minneapolis crowd absolutely sucked this past Monday night. I don't know what it is with WWE with booking their shows in these random cities, but golly, man, it's really, really bad. It's that bad. I I don't understand if you're gonna go to a show. This it doesn't matter. It could be from Chicago, it could be from Sioux City, Iowa, it could be from Montana, it could be from Sheboygan, Peoria, whatever it is, or even Kentucky. Go in there, have a good time. That's why we're there, right? We're there to have a good time. I don't understand where people come from with this notion that you have to be quiet or on your knees because you're at a wrestling show. Who cares that WWE's PG? Be loud. Why is the fact that your kids are more louder than you are at wrestling shows? It's kind of sad and pathetic to be honest with you. Um, Now let's move over to what other thoughts I had on Raw. I like the Piper spit with Ryback and Rusev. I think Lana's getting better on the mic each week. Obviously, she's hot. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. But I really enjoyed that segment with them and Roddy Piper. Rusev got a nice rub. Need to have some experience there with the legend Roddy Piper. So I think that's pretty cool. Some other news coming out of the world in wrestling. I guess Ryback and Russo could be in a feud together. So, what's your guys' thoughts on that? I think that'd be pretty cool. I think that match would be pretty interesting for especially for both guys' hitting styles and the way they work in the ring. I think that'd be pretty cool actually. Now, here's another question I have for you, and it's kind of interesting coming out of this Ryback CM Punk thing. Do you guys is your guys' opinions hurt on Ryback during this experience, or do you guys enjoy Ryback? I'd like to hear from you guys. I'm a fan of Ryback. I've always been a fan of Ryback. Um, I think the guy is severely underrated, in my point of view. But there was a lot of stuff said about him on the CM Punk podcast. I was really surprised about that. Um, we heard Ryback's point of view in the Talk is Jericho podcast that came out a couple weeks ago. I advise you guys to check that out. Speaking of advertising and podcasts, if you guys are you host a wrestling show, let's say you need public you need public viewage, you need some advertisement on the radio, you guys like to have some sponsorships, you like to have some on-air advertisement for your wrestling show, please email me at joshlopezbookings@gmail.com. I'm looking to expand the wrestling media coverage as much as I can. I'm not part of the internet wrestling community. I can give two big news about that community. I don't associate that with myself. I'm just a wrestling fan, to be honest with you. So I like to help out. Let's kind of make this a little territorial. Try to help people out instead of being a lot all about egos and all about ourselves. I think it's best, especially with wrestling, to help each other it, join forces together like they did in the territories, expand the wrestling coverage as much as we can to so many people. If you have a commercial spot that you made that you like to have it here on the radio, I got the outlet for you. I'm on every Wednesdays 10 to 1 on ChicagoLandSportsRadio.com. I'll play your clip. I'll play your commercial for your show. Just send me email at joshlopezbookings@gmail.com and we'll get that going. So let's get you on with Raw. The Ho-Hogan, it was what it was. I'm not really going to harp on it. I mean, it's Christmas. I mean, who cares? There's 52 weeks out of the year for WWE. You're not going to get the greatest Raws every single week, but especially on the holidays. So, I mean, it is what it is. Um, I think, here's the thing. I hear a lot of stuff about Hogan saying that he wants to come back and he wants to wrestle again. I don't know. I just don't know. I think it's a little bit too late for him. The only match that makes sense for him right now is John Cena. It's just the right guy at the right time. Plus, I wouldn't trust a Hogan Austin match with the fact that both of these guys are old, and that could cause more risk of injury because they might make a mistake, especially with their ring rust. So, have Hogan fight his protege John Cena at WrestleMania. Have him come off the sunset in his final WWE match. I think that's the right way to go. Overall, I gave Raw this past week's Raw a B minus. I thought the show was okay for top to bottom. I liked the Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt Miracle on 34th Street fight. I thought that was really cool. Um, Obviously, the commentary on WWE sucks. It is what it is. I talk about that a lot on Twitter at Josh Lopez CSR. It's like listening to a Fox News announce team. I choose to block out the announcing because I don't learn anything from it. Unlike in TNA, I learned stuff from Mike Tenay and Taz. When you listen to Monday Night Raw with Jerry Lawler, JBL, and Michael Cole, it's barbing back and forth, yelling. JBL trying to put himself over. JBL trying to bury towns because they're not just like him. I want to listen to wrestling because I want to know the story. That's why we watch it, right? Wrestling is a story. It's an art form. We're supposed to find out what's going on in the ring and why we should care about this match. And they don't do it. It's either they try to talk about it or they're way over the top with it. And it doesn't seem special. So I tune out the Raw commentary. I'll be honest with you. When I cover Raw for Between the Ropes, I choose to if it unless it's an in-ring promo, which I have to type out and decipher and paraphrase, I just choose to ignore it. I choose to ignore Raw. I watch it. I watch from the ring. I'll either do my own commentary or I'll listen to music. Eliminate the negatives so it doesn't ruin your experience from watching wrestling. That's what I always try to tell people. Find the easiest ways to erase all the negatives that you have in your mind. Find the replacements. Okay, I'll I'll do a little preview for Raw when we get off air, but wanted to transition to a little bit of TNA before we get into this house show talk. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show so far. Pro Wrestling Experience episode 96 here on YouTube. I'm at Twitter at Josh Lopez CSR. You can support the show on Twitter at PW Show if you like. Appreciate our one viewer here. You guys got any questions? Please feel free to comment below in the chat room. I'd like to hear from you guys. And yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're having about 4 to 5 weeks to episode 100 of Pro Wrestling. It's going to be crazy. Planning to get some big guests back here on the show. If you guys never listened to this show, we're the fastest rising pro wrestling talk show in the world. We've had such people as Jim Ross, big wrestling announcers like Jason Powell, Brian Fritz, Justin LeBar from Chair Shot Reality, Frank Manzo from Wrestle Reaction, Ken Shamrock. We had a lot of people. Robbie E. and Brooke Tessmacher from The Amazing Race and TNA Impact Wrestling. A lot of great people has been on this show before, and 2015 is going to be no different. I'm going to try to see if we could actually. We were supposed to have Jeff Jarrett come on the show this week, guys. If you guys didn't know, I was supposed to talk to Jeff Jarrett this week for the live show. It couldn't happen because scheduling issues, the fact that my station decided to close down the entire station for the week. With me, I don't care if it's Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Easter Eve, any Eve. I was still done a radio show because we're on the morning. It's not a big deal. I'll be there. I'll do it. I'll edit the show. I'll get it out of the way, and then I head home for the holiday, and we'll celebrate at night. Kind of bummed out about that because I could have done a cool interview with them, but we're scheduling. We'll probably have them on after the New Japan show's over, so we'll have more information on that. Jim Ross, we had him on the show right before his one-man show here in Chicago. Trying to see if I could get him for the 100th episode. I think that'd be cool. And then also Sam Roberts, the guy who hosts the Sam Roberts Wrestling podcast. Check it out; it's a really cool podcast. So if you guys ever would like to be a guest and you guys want to have your voice be heard, feel free to call in whatever you want. 312-564-7375 is the number. I'm always open to any wrestling fan that would like to come on and let their voice be heard. It's pretty cool. I'd like to have your voice be heard. I'm not going to cut you off. I'm not going to be a radio host and be like, oh, you only got 20 seconds, go. I'm open to any wrestling fan calling into the show. So we're on every Wednesdays, 10 to 1 ChicagoLaneSportsRadio.com. Let's move on to TNA. I know a lot of people are not into TNA these days, but big news coming out. They are joining Destination America on January 7th. That's going to be pretty cool coming out of the Manhattan Center in New York City. Um, I really hope this works out for TNA. I know they made some new announcements. Josh Matthews is going to be now the play-by-play guy for TNA. They're having a behind the scenes show at TNA called Unbroken with Mike Tenay. We'll see what happens with that. Uh, One thing I just wish that happens with TNA is that they get more advertisement in the right places. The marketing team for TNA over the last 5 years has been atrocious. I get press releases from TNA. I got friends there that work at TNA, and there's a lot of cool people that work at TNA, and I want TNA to succeed. But we need to find out what they are. There needs to be a change from the TNA stigma. It's new leash, water under bridge, new network. You're not on Spike anymore. New show, TNA Impact Wrestling on Destination America. I think what's really cool about that is that we're getting the third matchup of Bobby Roode and Bobby Lashley, and they're following up the fact that Lashley is entitled to a title rematch to Bobby Roode. That's going to be awesome. They are going to be taping shows. I don't know if they're going to be able to do live shows on Destination America or they're going to go on with the taping schedule due to financial issues. But we'll see what happens. I think that would be pretty cool. I just want to see a new leash. I want to see a different look. I want to see a different design. I want to see a different format. TNA, here's your opportunity. You want to make your opportunity to stand out to the fans and say that you want to be in competition with WWE. Here's your chance. Do it. Uh, nobody's nobody's gonna get in the way of you trying to succeed in wrestling than you are. So you look where TNA is right now, and I hope they succeed. I really do hope that they succeed, and whatever they decide to do, I'll support it. Hopefully, they change the format with the way the storylines are structured. We'll see what happens. So that's my thoughts on TNA. Before I get into CM Punk, I'm gonna look at the questions that we have so far. Like I said, you guys have any questions, feel free to send to me on Twitter at PW Show or on Facebook at Pro Wrestling Experience. I'd like to hear from you guys. Let's see. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see what the good people in the wrestling universe sent to me. Okay, here we go. Got my buddy Andrew Browning. Here's the question: who will win the Royal Rumble? And the other question is, who will enter first? Now, here's the thing. That's a very interesting question because there's a lot of rumors about Roman Reigns possibly winning the Royal Rumble. I know a lot of people are not going to get into that. Usually the number one spot. Before I make a pick, I want to talk about the number one spot because that's always an interesting question to find out who's the number one guy. Because usually over the last few years, it's been the really well conditioned in ring technical guy. I mean, it was CM Punk last year. It was Dolph Ziggler the year before that, and then The Miz. And usually you find those guys that are going to be in the ring for like 45 minutes. So I could say maybe Tyson Kidd, maybe a Cesaro, maybe. Maybe Ziggler. Maybe Ziggler tries to go again number one in the Rumble or number two. Who knows? Maybe it could be a surprise. Maybe it could be Rey Mysterio. Um, Usually, when it comes to the number one entrance spots, it's always for the guy that can be in there the longest and they're well conditioned and they're probably an in ring technician. That's something I've always noticed. And as far as my winner for the Royal Rumble, I'm really torn. Um, I'm not sold on Roman Reigns as a WrestleMania main event yet. Not because he's not good enough or he doesn't have the promo skills or this that. It's just too early, in my point of view. You see a lot of guys in the WWE right now where they started their careers way too fast, shot up the moon, and already are the faces of the company. You see John Cena. I think a lot of issues people have with John Cena is that he was given too much too soon. I mean, you look at guys like Bret Hart, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. They were in the business for almost 10 years before they even got into the main event scene. And Roman Reigns has busted his butt in FCW and NXT. And even for the couple years he's been here on the WWE television, but I think it's too early. I'm a fan of Roman Reigns. I support him. I got a T-shirt of his. I like his catchphrase he has. It says "one versus all," but it's too early for him. It's way too early for him. So I don't think it's gonna be Reigns. I'm gonna throw this out there, and I don't know. I really do hope this guy comes back, but there's no perfect story right now for the WWE to follow up where they were from last year to have, because it goes full circle with the Authority. The Authority wanted Daniel Bryan not to be in WrestleMania last year, right? Daniel Bryan proved them wrong at WrestleMania. The Authority did everything they could to take Daniel Bryan out. He had a legitimate injury, and that's understandable. But they were still going to do it either way with Brock Lesnar. Daniel Bryan's out. He's been gone for almost 6, 7 months now. Daniel Bryan comes back, wins the Royal Rumble, and gets the title back from Brock Lesnar because the Authority is the people that won the title off of John Cena. There you go. Brock Lesnar loses to Daniel Bryan. I'm going with Daniel Bryan as the surprise winner of the Royal Rumble. A lot of people want him in the Rumble match last year. He wasn't supposed to be in the Rumble match. I wasn't bothered about that as everybody else was. I didn't get it. Bryan was advertised in the match with Bray Wyatt. So you have him lose to Bray Wyatt, and then you have him win the Royal Rumble magically. That did no favors to Bray Wyatt if that was going to happen. That was my only argument with that. And it ruined my experience with the Royal Rumble last year because I actually enjoyed that pay-per-view. And everybody was giving it the hot shits because Daniel Bryan didn't win the Royal Rumble. So that, Andrew, for my question, I'm going to go with Daniel Bryan winning the Royal Rumble. Let's move on to the house show. I've had a crazy couple days on social media, especially on Twitter, blowing up with favorites and retweets and this and that. I got to go to the house show in Chicago this past Friday night, WWE Live. Fun show, man. First time I ever got to sit on the floor level by the ramp. That was a pretty cool experience because you got the fans coming up close, and especially with house shows, a lot of wrestlers come closer to the fans. They give them high fives and stuff after their matches are over. So I always like those holiday shows. I think those are pretty cool. As far as people that I got to meet or shake hands with, it was Big E. All of the New Day shook my hand, so I thought that was pretty cool. Charlotte, man, she's beautiful in person, man. She's really good in that ring, man. She has a bright future. She's a real deal. I know a lot of people may think she'll be forced down her throat because she's Ric Flair's daughter, but she has the genes, man. She's just as good as Flair, in my opinion. She's just as good as him, or maybe even more on the athletic side. But Charlotte was fantastic. I took a picture of Sasha Banks. She did a retweet on Twitter. That was pretty cool. Eden, the ring announcer, she did a great job as well. She gave me a retweet. And also, what really made my night the next day was the fact that I took a picture of Lana coming down the ring. And she used that picture in one of her Instagram pictures. So I thought that was pretty cool. As far as the matches are concerned, the Sin Cara Justin Gabriel match was really cool. I thought they both had some great back and forth matches. The house shows experience are very fun. I always advise people to attend WWE live shows, the live edition, because you actually see what they do in the ring. It's a totally different experience from watching on TV throughout the commercial breaks. Case in point, Roman Reigns and Rusev. I gained a lot of respect for Rusev and Roman Reigns for their storytelling in the ring from what I seen. The match was about 20-25 minutes this past Friday night for the United States Championship. And it was one of the best matches I've seen in months. And it's from Roman Reigns and Rusev. You saw that if you saw that match on Raw, I seen these guys fought a couple times on SmackDown. And I thought it was really good. But if you saw that match on Raw, you would think it would be boring. This match was great. It was fantastic. Bruce however, did retain the title by hitting the title on Roman Reigns, which usually happens a lot with these WWE shows. There's a lot of disqualifications, but nonetheless, I thought that match was really good. The triple threat match. There was a three-way tag team match to turn the number one contender for the tag team titles. It was Kid and Cesaro, the New Day, and Goldust and Stardust. I thought that was pretty cool to see Goldust perform in person. Um, you never know. I gotta take advantage of that. I gotta be appreciative for the guy like Goldust for the fact that he's still able to perform the way he does in the ring each week. It's fantastic, and it's a lot of fun watching Goldust and Stardust in the ring. I think they complement them well with each other. And who knows? I really do think this is the year we may see Cody Rhodes against Goldust. I think this will be the year. Anyway, that match between them, Ken Cesaro, and the New Day was very good. The New Day won that match, and I think the New Day got their biggest reception they got this whole run with their gimmick. So I was very happy for Big E, Xavier Woods, and uh, Kofi Kingston. It was very cool for them because they got treated like crap in Detroit, and that was really bogus. You know, the guys are trying to do something new. This is their idea. They're trying to make themselves stand out. They deserve the appreciation, at least trying to do something new. You guys say you want new tag teams. Here you go. It's a bad gimmick, yeah, but you know, I just don't get wrestling fans days. You say you want one thing, and then when it happens, you complain about it. It's absolutely hysterical. I mean, these are the people who are going to tell you, "Oh, we need to go back to the Attitude Era," and then who knows? Somebody says, "Oh, we're having the Attitude marketing campaign back," and then you're going to say, "Oh, this Attitude Era sucks. Oh, they're reverting back to the past. Oh, don't try to try something new. How would let the business evolve? Oh, it's not the same as it was in the Attitude Era." While you spend the last 12 years whining and moaning, "Oh, we need the Attitude Era back." Hypocrites. Hypocrites. Anyway, um, we had Dean Ambrose against Bray Wyatt in the Chicago Street Fight. I remember that was a very physical match. Very fun and entertaining. Dean Ambrose won that match. WWE announced that Extreme Rules 2015 will be live at the Allstate Arena on April 26, 2015. Listen to the Pro Wrestling Experience here on Chicago Live Sports Radio. No, wrong time for a reset. But we are on ChicagoLiveSportsRadio.com every Wednesdays 10 to 1 with yours truly, Josh Lopez. You want to create broadcasting, go to BeyondAir.com. We're on Twitter at PW Show if you guys are wondering. You guys have any questions in chat room, please feel free to question. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show so far. It's been a lot of fun. We're talking about WWE, the house show. We're getting closer to the CM Punk conversation. I gave my thoughts about TNA joining Destination America. Yeah, so let's move on. I got to catch SmackDown yesterday, and uh, if you guys don't know, I do live show reports for BetweenTheRopes.com. Yes, I am a wrestling writer, but I don't write dirt sheet news. I actually write my coverage for shows because I'm actually watching the show. So I that's the only exception I give. Like people, if they think I'm an internet wrestling community writer or this and that, I'm not. I'm not, and I'll never will be. I am a wrestling writer. I cover show reports. I do raw previews. I give opinions and stuff. But I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of wrestling. There's nothing wrong with just being a fan of wrestling. Anyway, so here, let's go to the nit and gritty. For those who don't know, CM Punk is my favorite wrestler of all time. Of all time. And yeah, I'm kind of biased because of the fact he is from here, but he is the main reason why. Because for me, CM Punk is my favorite wrestler because he reminds me a lot of me. And I've always been a fan of Punk's. Even during the Ring of Honor days, I'm not like one of those Ring of Honor fans that are like, oh, I was there since he was fighting Austin Aries or this and that. I just always been a fan of the guy. I always appreciate what that guy did. I'm gonna read to you this post I wrote on Facebook a while back when the podcast came out, and I want to first give you my thoughts on the podcast, and then I'm gonna talk about the questions I had coming out of that podcast. So, if Punk, if you're listening, or anybody that's listening, I hope you enjoy this. This is coming from the heart from a true CM Punk fan. Um, it really sucks with the fact that he couldn't be in WWE anymore, but I don't let it change the fact of me being a WWE fan. It is what it is. Uh, there's no justification for anybody getting fired on their wedding day. There's just not. And I'll agree with Punk with that. But here we go. Here it is. I'm going to read you this story or note here that I wrote. This was after the Punk podcast on Thanksgiving. I caramba, let's do it. So I said, I remember earlier this year at the Royal Rumble, I was an upset wrestling fan because my favorite wrestler, CM Punk, was no longer there and missed out of it a tremendous feud that could have happened with Triple H. Who knows if Punk would have done the same thing that Daniel Bryan did if he stayed? I felt bad at lashing out at him because, as he said on his podcast, he's an independent contractor. And I did have resentment for a couple of weeks because my all-time favorite wrestler walked down on me, like Stone Cold did in 2002. And this, I wrote this prior to knowing what actually happened. There's just so many rumors and BS that came out on the dirt sheet speculating on what happened during that whole time. I'm just hoping that he was doing well mentally and that he was in a good place. I never met CM Punk, and I never told anybody why CM Punk's my favorite wrestler. You can call him a jerk or an egomaniac or this or that, but CM Punk reminds me a lot of me. Misunderstood, taken for granted, underappreciated, straight edge, courteous, hardworking, relentless, and most importantly, doing things on our own accord. That's the stuff that I relate to Punkster, even though I don't have tattoos, I don't drink or smoke, and I don't need to fit a certain mode. I waited 10 months to hear the truth from CM Punk. I support CM Punk. I always will, but I wasn't turning into one of those fans that was crapping all over the WWE just because he wasn't there anymore. I just think that's childish and unprofessional. I mean, there's been so many times wrestlers in the past have left wrestling, like the Ultimate Warrior, Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, etc., Chris Jericho. So I said it was nice to see that he did everything he could to recover from the injuries and also find his happiness. I'm happy that he is in a new life. He's enjoying his life with his wife AJ. He's a Hawks fan, which is pretty cool. He's now a UFC fighter. That's pretty cool as well. Now he's writing comic books for Marvel too, as well. So that's also pretty cool. And I'm gonna hope to see if I could find a way to go down to Challenger Comics and actually meet him on February 28th. So that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, I said it was nice to see that he did everything he could to recover from his injuries and find the happiness in his life. But I said more importantly that he sticks to his own guns and it protected his pride and dignity. Um, I said I got to listen to the podcast, and if there's anybody that hasn't checked out the podcast and you want to hear Punk's side of the story, go ahead. First off, I want to give a shout out to Cole Cabana and with his Art of Wrestling podcast because I bet that poor guy has been stressed out with the situation even before Punk left in January because of the stuff his friend was going through outside the ring. Uh, I want to give Colt a shout out because even knowing the beast that is the WWE universe and all of the fans of CM Punk, it didn't allow this whole situation to control his whole career. So I thought he handled this podcast as a pro and that he wasn't looking to gain anything out of this. And I got all the respect in the world for Colt. I've always had, and I even told Colt that he's one of my favorite wrestlers when I met him at an AEW show last year. He may not remember, but he's a great guy, and I would like to think that maybe in the future I would have the same experience if I ever got to meet CM Punk in the future. Um, Here's my thoughts on the podcast, and I wanted to map this out because obviously CM Punk's my favorite wrestler, and this podcast made me think about a lot of things, life, passion, wrestling, and a lot of stuff. And I wanted to make this post because I want my point of view to be out there. Well, I heard the story from the beginning, and all I got to say is the world is cruel. You can start off with the issues he had with being passed over with all these great opportunities, also having to deal with the fact that he was a top guy, but at the same time he was fed to these part timers while Vince continued to say, I'll owe you one. Then we go to the injuries and the right back thing. And all I say is that maybe Punk could have handled the injuries a little bit better and maybe say no to the European tours in both Novembers of 2012 and 2013. I thought Punk should have been gone for about a year after his match with The Undertaker so he could regroup and get back in a good mental state and get back at it. And obviously that didn't happen. Um, the issues that he had with the medical staff is totally understandable for the WWE to talk about how they joined these organizations and they got all these partners and they put their corporate image in good light after the whole Chris Benoit situation. And then we find out that the drug testing is still BS. It's kind of pathetic in my personal view. I would like to think that you would do everything you could to make sure that your talents are safe and healthy no matter what the process is. I thought Punk was right to have a gripe about not being in either of WrestleMania main events of 28 and 29, especially 29, because we seen Rocket Cena at 28. It would have been perfect for Punk, Cena, and Rock to have that triple threat match. I'm not going to go into a tirade on part timers. It is what it is, but Punk was right, and he was going to be there the next day. He deserved as much pay as all the other guys that the WWE um, didn't cut the thing out of what was bothering him in the back of that MRSA infection, whatever it was called. um, Staph infections are nothing to mess around with, people. So if you have one, get it out of the way. It's not good. Let's see. We'll move on to the day that he left, and I'm glad that he opened up about what he said in the room with Triple H and Vince. But at the same time, I kind of wish that I didn't hear that because I'm still one of those guys that didn't want doesn't want to act like I know everything about professional wrestling and never having any experience in it. So sorry, I've always been that way. I always had respect for the privacy for the performers and the promoters and etc. I think he made a lot of good points that this process was BS and the environment is not fun and wrestling's supposed to be fun and they screwed him over. Vince said he'll owe him stuff 3 times and nothing ever happened. He got passed over for people that weren't in it for the right reasons. So I get where he's coming from. I mean, knowing myself, I would have done the same thing. He said he said it in the podcast. He wanted one opportunity to be in the main event of WrestleMania, so at the same time, it could be an asset to the roster. To find out that he was fired on this wedding thing, I was still shocked and disappointed at the same time. It goes to show you that even in wrestling and let alone a global corporate company, you're meaningless to them unless you conform and put money in their pockets. Why would you want to work for somebody that does that kind of stuff? I said, this is the last part here. He said, finally, I got my closure that I needed from the story. Punk is still my favorite wrestler. I apologized earlier this year about my angst towards him without hearing his side of the story first, and that's on me because it's the truth. You got to hear from the person's side of you before giving your own. I thank Punk for sticking to his guns and never changing for anybody. I thank Punk for protecting his pride and dignity. I'm still going to support him, but at the same time, not going to bash the WWE because he's not there. Even though some of the stuff that's come out last night is really heartbreaking and gives us a dose of reality. Life is cruel, and you can't let people take away your pride and dignity. I hope and pray That eventually, that sometimes too, we can hear the WWE side of the story, even though everybody will act like they're trying to hide the truth because they're a global company. We heard Punk's side of the story. We heard a little bit from Vince with his podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now we need to hear from Triple H because I think Triple H is the main reason why CM Punk is not here, and we'll get to that in a minute. Um, I said I hope they can reconcile their differences soon, and I'm still holding out hope that he'll be back on the roster soon because he's saying that he hates professional wrestling now. I think still at the end of the day he loves wrestling, and I have no doubt in my mind that he'll be back soon. It's going to be great. Check out his Marvel comic book, which is coming out in 2015, and also seeing him in the UFC. I'll support him in anything that he wants to do. Like I said, I would love to meet that guy someday. It's still to this day there hasn't been a pro wrestler that I have personally connected with as much as I did with CM Punk. So all I gotta say is thank you, CM Punk, for everything that you've done for wrestling. Um, you inspired me to live my life in a positive light, positive mental attitude, and I don't take shit from anybody anymore. So thank you, Punk. Um, I guess the only question I've had for Punk was the fact that he said in the podcast that before his wedding day, he said that Triple H messaged him. He said he wanted to talk to him. I guess the only question I would give to Punk is when you found out that Hunter wanted to talk to you, what do you think he was going to talk to you about? Was he going to ask you if you wanted to come back, or Triple H was going to call Punk to tell him that he was fired? I think that's something nobody is talking about. I think that's something that's interesting. But anyway, we're gonna close up the show pretty soon. But there's some other stuff that I did want to talk about. Hope you guys have been enjoying the show so far. But anyway, Brock Lesnar, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. This guy's been on a whirlwind over the last couple of days. Since returning to the WWE, he's got new merch on WWE.com. And I just don't think Brock Lesnar has done anything for the WWE Championship. Not one. Not one thing. And I know a lot of you are going to be upset about this, but with Brock Lesnar leaving, I'm not going to be surprised if John Cena wins the WWE title at the Royal Rumble. I'm not going to be surprised. So that's my thoughts on Brock Lesnar. I kind of wish Brock had a title reign like The Rock did in 2013. You know, just 3 months, but they decided to go with the whole SummerSlam angle, and this is where you go from here to right now, which kind of hurt the presentation of Raw and pay-per-views because you don't have the WWE Championship there every time. So I just don't think Brock's done anything for the title, to be honest with you. I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar. I appreciate that he did want to come back to wrestling, but wrong time, wrong place for him to be the WWE champion, in my point of view. So we'll see what happens at the Royal Rumble with John Cena and Brock Lesnar. I think that'll be a great match. I got to see the first one at Extreme Rules in Chicago. That was a fantastic match, a fantastic storytelling match. But that's my thoughts on Brock Lesnar. A couple more things before we go. I wanted to give my state of wrestling. That was one of the main things I wanted to do on the show today because we got the New Year's coming up. By the way, Happy New Year's to everybody. Yeah, I hope you guys have a safe holiday. My state of wrestling is this, and it's in one word: progress. Now, it could be progress in a positive light. It could be progress in a negative light. Whichever way you look at it, it's progress. And when you look at the state of wrestling right now, we have Lucha Underground, a new show coming on the El Rey Network. We've been doing a lot of great interviews. I mean, Matt Stryker, Big Rick, Krista Joseph, Chavo Guerrero. Great interviews. We have Ring of Honor doing a great job. I had Roderick Strong and Christopher Daniels on the show. I'm gonna try to see if I can get Adam Cole back on the show for the first show of the year because we were supposed to have him on. He was sick when he was supposed to come on, but we'll see if we can get we can squeeze in Adam Cole for the first show of the year. I think that'd be pretty cool. Um, our first show, by the way, our first show of 2015 will be on January 7th. So mark that down on your calendar. We're live every Wednesdays 10 to 1 here on ChicagoLandSportsRadio.com. Adam Cole. Adam Cole, baby. Let's see if we can get him back on the show. But I think the state of wrestling is this: it's progress. You see the launch of Global Force Wrestling. You see TNA moving to Destination America, and also the progress of WWE NXT. And as much as a lot of people like to crap on the main roster of WWE from Raw and SmackDown and this and that, even WWE's had progress in the positive light as well. Now, there's been a lot of negatives with wrestling as well. It comes with the territories, it comes with the injuries, it comes from the bad TV deal that WWE signed with NBC earlier this year, and also the WWE network not working as well as everybody thought it was going to be. And I really do think 2015 is going to be a big year for WWE, rebound year. They need it for product reasons and a lot of other reasons, but I really do hope 2015 is good for the WWE. We got the Royal Rumble, we got a limited, my bad, the Fastlane pay per view, and also WrestleMania 31. We probably see Sting come back. I think 2015 will be a rebound year for WWE as a product wise. So now they got all their sponsors and the launch of the network out of the way. They don't really have to focus on that anymore. They can focus on the product, and I think that's what's more important. We'll see some people from NXT come up to the main roster, which I think will be pretty cool. Um, with that said, 2014 State of Wrestling is called Progress. There's more wrestling now, and you need to go find a way to watch wrestling anywhere. You just don't have to watch WWE at the same time. You can support WWE as well. Support WWE. Why not? Support TNA. Support Ring of Honor. Support all wrestling companies. Wrestling's down because there's not a lot of wrestling on TV, and it's sad. And it's the state of mind where wrestling is right now. Is everything's all negative about it, and we should be positive that we still have wrestling. We got the New Japan show coming up on January 4th, pay per view, the New Japan Global Force Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom 9, Jim Ross and Matt Striker. How about that? Two former guests of this very show you're listening to right now, where former guests of this show will be the color and play by play guy for the New Japan show. How about that? Matt Striker and Jim Ross, both on Wrestle Kingdom 9. You can hear those interviews on ChicagoLandSportsRadio.com as well. So, that's what I say to wrestling. Tomorrow's Monday Night Raw comes from Washington, D.C. You think we see Batista? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. I congrats go out to Batista. He's been doing a lot of cool stuff with the movies and stuff. So congrats go out to Dave. Here's the thing. We got Edge and Christian hosting Raw tomorrow. That's gonna be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to that. We'll see what happens with Ricky and Boston. I think it's time for WWE to start putting their hands foot down and start building to the Rumble. Start advertising guys that are going to be in the Rumble match. Try to see if we're actually going to see Ryback against Rusev at the Royal Rumble. And what's the Divas Championship feud going to be? Is it going to be Paige? Is it going to be Natalia? What's it going to be? I think it's a lot of great questions that we can have, but we'll see what happens. So that's why I say wrestling. We talked about Raw for tomorrow night. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We're going to wrap it up here. I think everybody that's listened to the show, we're on every Wednesday, 10 to 1 on ChicagoLandSportsRadio.com. We'll probably do another one of this next week. I'll let you know on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Experience. Also on Twitter at PW Show. Just go to ChicagoLandSportsRadio.com, subscribe to the podcast. Go to the podcast section. Pro Wrestling Experience, one of the more advertised shows on the station. That's it. I'm on Twitter at Josh Lopez CSR. Like I said, you want any advertisement or publicity for your wrestling company, wrestling show, wrestling t-shirt site, whatever, wrestling news site, let me know. Josh Lopez Bookings at gmail.com. I'll love to support you out. This is this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Experience. I'm Josh Lopez. Thank you for watching. For those watching here on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you guys next week.